Activate this dimension of energy, other dimensions of life will open up. One thing is, are you ready for those dimensions? Kundalini yoga in its essence is the most dangerous form of yoga. I'm saying dangerous because it's the most potent also. If you have to jump into an abyss, you should be insane or you should have enormous trust in somebody.
Today we'll talk about Kundalini, as I'll be commenting on Sadhguru's video, Kundalini Yoga, Awakening the Shakti Within. In this video, Sadhguru goes through some details about Kundalini and about Kundalini Yoga and the process that happens when Kundalini awakens. I'm also a spiritual teacher who's went through this Kundalini awakening and integration and this whole process. I see a lot of information on the internet that is a little bit strange about Kundalini. So here I'll talk about what actually happens. Have fun.
Right now, I'm speaking. This is Kundalini.
You are alert and listening. If you are alert and listening, that is Kundalini. A flower is blossoming, that is Kundalini. A dog is barking, that is also Kundalini. Or in other words, the fundamental life force in the existence, we call it Kundalini. Now, if you look at this as kind of a life package, it's a piece of life. This piece of life is packed in a certain way with layers of this energy. One dimension of energy comes alive immediately because that is necessary for your survival process. The other dimensions of energy will not come alive unless you do something about. Unless you're aware of it and activate it in a certain way, they do not come into existence. They remain dormant. The dormant energy is way bigger than the energy that is in use right now. To take care of your survival process, to live a physical life completely, to live a complete physical and intellectual life, you need to activate only about 21 of your chakras. Out of this 114, if about 21 of them are on, you will live a complete life. You will not feel any inadequacy. You will live a complete physical life. There'll be no problem with your life. You will think you're a great success, but you're only 21. That is less than 21% out of 114, less than 20%.
Meaning this energy can only go out or go express itself through this 21%, meaning the lower chakras, meaning your need to be safe, your need to reproduce, your need to be useful in the world. And, it's like most people live just to survive and replicate, right?
At less than 20%, you will feel like a complete life without any inadequacies. The remaining percentage of life, what is it about? It is not even needed if your intention is just to live well. If you activate this dimension of energy, other dimensions of life will open up.
Yes, and in this spiritual process, when we go deeper into the spiritual process and it takes us deeper, and especially with Kundalini, it guides you deeper. It's kind of like it forces you or works itself deeper. If you don't have Kundalini, but you've had an awakening, then this life force in a different way will also work through the system. Not as with Kundalini, but as with spiritual awakening, it does. But with spiritual awakening, there's less pressure on your transformation than with Kundalini. So what happens in this spiritual ascension process, you could say, through the chakras, is that you get more powers to receive different information and different input. And I've noticed this myself as well. It's kind of like getting some sixth senses, some extra powers like this. But you need to be able to filter out what is relevant for your physical life and also what you do with that. Because a lot of people, let's say, if you take one portion of what you get in information really seriously, then that will make you suffer. Whether that's your intuition, whether that's your emotions, whether that's your thoughts, whether it's let's say, messages from guides, from masters, whether it's a deep sensing of where the world is going, whether it's a deep knowing of the energy you see and feel everywhere around you, or with a specific person and being able to read them. If you take that information really serious and you want to act on it, you want to wrestle with it, basically, then it will make you suffer. And this whole process in the end is not about gaining extra sensory information. It's not being able to read energy in this very clear way. But it is about relaxation and being aligned with life while you get this information, not needing to act on it, but just be with it and allow life to unfold. So how can you be a vessel for transformation for others? That's not by trying to force others to change, but that's by reading the information and giving them back what is necessary at that moment for them to transform. This is what I do, for example, in my free call. So it's not really about staying or sticking with your powers. It's about transcending your powers to not optimize for them, but staying with life. It's sort of, you can move vertically towards who you are, life itself, consciousness, awareness, or you could start to move horizontally while you explore different powers or layers. And the key to transform deeper is not to worry too much about the horizontal development of those powers, because they will naturally evolve as you progress and keep your eyes straight on the truth.
One thing is, are you ready for those dimensions?
Your readiness is determined on how much you have the need to act on what you know, on what you start to sense. If you can let go of what you sense, if you don't take it too seriously, you take it as information, then you're fine.
The question is not about whether it's good or bad. The question is just about, are you ready for it? Because
sometimes that's also, when we're talking about you, sometimes it's also about your vessel. If your mind still has a lot of trauma, if you still take your thoughts very seriously, if you still are not able to sit with your emotions, just be with them, let them naturally unwind. If you have an unstable nervous system because you've been through awakening, but your mind and your system has not integrated it yet, you need some grounding, for example. So these are typical things. If you feel that you're there, by the way, and you feel unstable, you can check out the free guide below, which is called Stabilizing Awakening, which I made for you.
even if the best things in life come to your life, when you're not ready for it, it will not be a good thing for you. In your experience, it will not be a good thing if…
No, because you'll feel either super ungrounded or what the hell do I do with this, right? It's like very hard for the mind to integrate if you're not ready for this.
Something came to you when you're not ready for it, isn't it so? Even if it's the greatest thing, it may be the greatest thing, but it came to you when you are not ready for it, then it is not a good thing, isn't it? So are you ready for it, is the first question. If you're ready…
Can you make yourself ready for this? Because if you're in the Kundalini process, because he's talking about awakening Kundalini and having that wake up on you. But when that wakes up, people often haven't been on the Kundalini yoga path. So they don't know about that, right? So they don't know what Kundalini is. They just sense that their body moves in meditation. They sense that they get maybe extrasensory powers. They sense that they have all these insights. They don't know what to do with them. They sense that they're going through purging of different conditioning coming up. They sense that their old life doesn't fit anymore, right? And the way to deal with that is not to stress it, but to relax in it and let it do itself. Basically, you merge with life by allowing it to do the movement that works for it. That sounds abstract, but it's actually really practical, meaning doing the surrender experiment with what Michael Singer says is basically a thought comes up, you don't need to do anything with it, and you just see what happens, what the body does. You just let go of tensing and trying to steer everything, and you'll be really well because you'll notice that everything is more effortless and everything works way more easy, and you start to do the work, the life and the actions that just align with you. So if you're going through Kundalini, it's just in general a sense of understanding I need grounding and I need this process to just do itself without me trying to manage or interfere it the whole time, because that will create trouble.
What can we do to activate? The various ways of doing this, many ways, but the Kundalini yoga. Are people familiar with Kundalini yoga?
I've done very little Kundalini yoga because my Kundalini was already awake when I started to be interested in this. And I noticed that I needed stabilization, and what I hear from Kundalini yoga and what I've experienced, it wasn't quite stabilizing. It's quite explosive.
Practicing or… Okay. Kundalini yoga, I'm not making a comment about anybody, okay? Kundalini yoga in its essence is the most dangerous form of yoga. I'm saying dangerous because it's the most potent also. What is most potent is always the most dangerous, if improperly handled. There are various kinds of energy in the world right now. Even the electricity is being, produced in so many different ways. One of the ways that we do it is through nuclear reactions, nuclear reactors rather. It is the most efficient way of producing energy that we know right now, but it is also the most dangerous way, isn't it?
When things go wrong, they go seriously wrong. When they're going right, it is the easiest and the best way to produce energy on the planet is nuclear energy actually. But when it goes bad, really bad, in ways that you can't fix it. So similarly with Kundalini yoga, it is the most potent and it is the…
What I've noticed is that energetic patterns, when you've been practicing in the wrong way, for example, whether that's with meditation or with yoga or with chanting or different things, that you can fix it, because he has also quite some examples in different videos where he fixed people that were practicing wrong. And I've had this myself as well, that not that he did this with me, but that I noticed that I was doing some things wrong, and because of this Kundalini process, that started to be very clear. So some of these things can be reversed, can be changed, but his warning is about doing energetic practices which you don't really understand, where you haven't really been taught how to do it, is very valid, because it's different than just doing a relaxing meditation. Is doing this specific yoga postures, specifically stimulating certain chakras or Kundalini, etc. If you think you're just doing that, I don't know, be flexible or something like that, or have more energy in your day, but you're awakening Kundalini in a very specific way, you might be in for a very strong ride that you haven't foreseen.
most dangerous. Without the necessary preparation and guidance, without expert guidance, constant guidance and observation, nobody should ever attempt it. But the problem is, books have been written about it and everybody wants to do the highest yoga. Nobody wants to start with A, everybody wants to start the alphabet with Z. This attitude itself is dangerous. What can be a life-transforming force can become a life-destructive force simply because without the necessary commitment and dedication and focus and understanding, it is being handled. Anyway, about rising the Kundalini. If the Kundalini rises, the dimensions of your life will change so rapidly that you must be willing to make the outside adjustments equally quick. Otherwise, things will fall apart in a big way.
So, I want to say here that Kundalini doesn't always rise really fast. I've seen that with people, that it can rise really fast, but it can also rise over time. Again, what is necessary here is right stabilization, understanding what you're doing, etc. But that's not only the case with Kundalini yoga, but that's when you're in this Kundalini process. But your life doesn't really fall apart, but the parts of your life that do not work or that are not meant for this character. So basically, your life has designated a certain role for you. And it will always feel the most natural to play that role. But when Kundalini comes in, you start to notice more and more that the things that are not aligned are just dropping away. Transactional relationships, work that doesn't really fulfill you, any type of thing which doesn't really match your character or your way of life or what you're meant to do on this planet will dissolve. That seems harsh, but that's just what it is. It will dissolve. And if you stabilize enough, if you do enough grounding, etc., you can be sane enough to keep doing the things that do not work for you for a while, but the energy will be draining. It will be draining you because you'll feel it's not aligned anymore. But over time, you're forced anyway to start doing the things that work for you if you're really on this Kundalini process. If you're not having a little Kundalini or prajna energy, but if you're really in this Kundalini process, I have a video about are you having a Kundalini awakening, which I'll link below. But obviously, if you're watching this, you're probably in this category, then it's for real and it's on. And you will transform. And life just takes you on the ride. Better not to resist, better not to hold on, because otherwise it will just be painful.
In the classical yogic traditions, there is a certain type of yoga we teach for people who live in family situations. There is a certain other type of yoga we teach for ascetics. In Isha, we have both the forms. We have ascetic yoga and we have the general yoga. We will never teach you the ascetic form. That is the most potent way to do it. But it will demand a certain dimension of discipline and focus, which your regular lives will not allow. If you do that kind of yoga, it will dismantle your outside life instantly. Now,
it can go fast, yes.
this yoga is not designed to dismantle your life. This yoga is designed to make your life happen better.
That's just normal yoga without… It's gradually working up to spiritual awakening, not activating the Kundalini with somebody who has maybe, I don't know, a year of meditation practice.
When life happens better, when things happen better, you make more money, your business is going better, your profession is happening better.
That's what most people want, right? We want a more pleasant ego. We don't want to dissolve the ego, no, we want a more pleasant ego, right? Where we just feel we're having a great time all the time. We want more pleasure, right? We want everything to work well, which is great. I could say I still want that, but that's not what this is about. This is about dissolving the ego.
You are generally, unfortunately, your longing to seek the higher becomes slower, yes? So in the real sense, it is not the good way to do it, but it's the only way it works in today's world. And it's the only way it works for majority of the people. For a small number of people, we can do it other ways. We can bypass all these things and just do very powerful ways of doing things. But it will dismantle all social structures around them, which is not good for everybody to do. So these are different dimensions.
And it's about the social structures because usually there are expectations that people have. Expectations that your friends or your family or your children might have. And some of those expectations are actually very valid. Other expectations are not so valid and maybe very restricting. But I do understand that there's a big difference between, let's say, householder yoga or people that are just in a monastery or something. But then again, in the modern age, I feel that it's happening more and more that normal people in normal lives are having awakenings, whether that's Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, and have to learn on their own or via the internet, what is this? So it's not as it used to be. And this is I think Sadhguru here, I think he's very, skilled and beautiful in what he does. But I think a part of what he's missing is that via the internet, currently, people are just doing this and it's just happening to them. This is the age of awakening, we could say. I don't have to do all woo-woo about this, but you just see that online, right? It's just happening. People are waking up and calling me maybe every day. So this is just happening. And you can't really deny that. We could say, oh, Well, an aesthetic path would be good for you. Well, I have lots of people that have a Kundalini awakening and schedule a call with me and say, hey, I had a Kundalini awakening and I'm with children and a wife and a business and trying to manage all this. It's not really a choice. It's not like, oh, I'm going in a monastery, going to do some practices, want to spend my life on this. And then at some point it wakes up, right? That's not what's happening to normal people currently.
If it has to be practiced, you must be in a certain kind of atmosphere. You cannot live in social…
Well, I understand that that's with Kundalini yoga is very relevant because then you're trying to wake up the Kundalini
situations and do Kundalini yoga. Otherwise, in the name of Kundalini yoga, you're doing something simplistic. Otherwise, Kundalini yoga can transform the way you are within days. Suddenly you find you are a stranger in your own home within 2 days of practice, because it will change everything about you.
This being a stranger in your own home, that's with every big shift I understand or see this in myself, but also with other people. And then in a way you get familiar because it's not really that you're a stranger, it's more that everything internally has changed and you just need to integrate and stabilize again, which is, people on the Kundalini path, they're very used to this.
So can we raise the Kundalini? Yes, we can. One way is to create a conducive atmosphere so that slowly it rises. The other way is to provoke it in such a way that it raises quickly. If it rises quickly, then everything changes dramatically. If it rises slowly over a period of time, changes will happen slowly. You will be capable of handling these changes over a…
That's what happened for me. I think that it happened a little bit more slowly, and that way I was capable to integrate.
period of time. But if it happens very quick, then you will not be able to handle the changes. Things will look like things are falling apart. So there are different ways of doing this. How many ways? There are too many ways. I will not go into how many ways. There are so many ways of doing it. Essentially, there are 112 ways of doing it. There are 112 ways in which you can take this up. From the base to… oh, for this you have to know the structure, otherwise it'll become very elaborate.
Just up the 7 chakras, right?
Out of this 114 chakras, there are 7 which we recognize as 7 dimensions. Out of this, 6 are within the body, 1 just outside the physical body. So if you employ these 112 methods, you will handle the 6th chakras. The 7th one you cannot handle. There are 112 ways in which you can attain to a chakra which we refer to as Agna. But from Agna to Sahasrara, there is no way to do it. You just have to jump into an abyss.
He means abyss. So that's basically you let go of control, right? You let go of trying. You surrender to life, you merge with life. Meaning you stop trying to control yourself, your movements, your thoughts. You just merge with life.
If you have to jump into an abyss, you should be insane, or you should have enormous trust in somebody.
Somebody says jump, and you are jumping because you have such a deep trust in somebody that when he says jump, it has to be good for you. You simply jump into a bottomless pit. So…
how this was for me, by the way, is not that I felt that I was not studying with somebody or something. So it wasn't like that. I wasn't insane or something like that. It's just you realize that this is your biggest project of your life, and that the only way forward is surrender, is to stop managing yourself and let all techniques and practices die. And with that, the ego has no hold, and then there is no self.
journey from the Mooladhara to Agna, there are 112 ways to get there. But from there to there is no way. It is just one jump that can happen in trust, in devotion, or in madness.
So for me, it was devotion to life, you could say.
Choice is yours.
Thank you, Sadhguru. That was a beautiful video. Thank you so much for watching this. If you're on the Kundalini journey, I recommend you check out my free guide, Stabilizing Awakening, below. If you ever want to connect and share about your journey, you can schedule a free call below. And I wish you much love and peace on your personal, beautiful journey. Much love. Bye.